Good evening and welcome to the EastCast on October 28th. I'm Corey Ringer with co-anchor Tracy A. Denton. Tonight's top stories are Big Al Speaks to East Students, Thespian Trip to the Renaissance Fair, Battle of the Bands, the Thespian Society's Haunted House, and East Young Woman of the Year. Boo! That probably didn't scare you, but the Thespian Society Haunted House probably will. The Thespian Society, along with East Stage Crew, have planned a haunted house. The stage crew, with assistance from the actors, have converted East Stage into a labyrinth with different surprises lying around every corner. Proceeds from this event are benefiting students participating in the London trip and the Leukemia Society. The haunted house will be operating on Halloween Day between 11 and 5 p.m. Although it's geared towards elementary school students, their parents are also welcome. The cost is $3 for a guided tour. East students are invited to the dance on Saturday night in our cafeteria. Prizes will be awarded for the best costume. So come out to the haunted house or the dance. Get scared and help Leukemia Society and the Thespian Society.
Tonight, the SAT word of the week is assuage, to lessen the pain or distress, to pacify or calm. If you're worried about taking the SATs, studying hard for the vocab should help to assuage your fears.
Tracy, if you look at the spelling, it looks like a sausage. You know, something I have with breakfast or I have on my pizza.
Good luck on the SATs, Corey. In recognition of Drug-Free School Week, Al Zolzak, a.k.a. Big Al, came to speak to East students about the dangers of legal and illegal drugs. On Monday, he spoke to the juniors and seniors, and on Tuesday, he spoke to the sophomores and freshmen. Senior Ellie Honig said, quote, he got his message across strongly without being unnecessarily dramatic. You felt like he was really sincere and he really cared, end quote. Another senior, Heather Homan, said, quote, when I walked out of the auditorium, I had a totally different attitude about other people's feelings, unquote. Big Al spoke about the dangers of steroids, alcohol, cigarettes, cocaine, marijuana, and gambling. But the first thing he said was that the program was, quote, not just about drugs, but about life, love, and caring, unquote. He spoke to the students about making responsible decisions and helping friends and classmates in trouble. He warned students not to turn to drugs to deal with problems. Big Al shared his own past experience with drugs and invited students to come up and share their stories about drugs with all the students. As Big Al said to the students, the best way to assuage your problems is not to do drugs, but to do hugs. Previously, EastCast's Karen Elkost had a chance to speak to Trisha Relosa, the East winner of the Young Woman of the Year award.
Here we are with Trish Relosa, the 1992-93 winner of Young Woman of the Year Cherry Hill East competition. Trish, what did you think of the process?
Well, we started out by handing in applications, and the judges went through them and cut down the amount of people according to our academics and our extracurricular activities. Then after those first cuts, we went on to our interviews, and that was counted a percentage of the points also. And then after the interviews, they cut down the amount of people, and then we moved on to the competition. In the competition, we had a talent section, poise and composure, a fitness routine, and a talent section.
What did you think of the competition?
Well, it was a little nerve-wracking considering the fact that all the girls who were in it were tough competition, and all of them had a lot of talent and a lot of intelligence. So it was a little nerve-wracking, but I think it was a good experience.
What impression did the competition leave on you?
Well, it just made me feel very honored that the judges thought that I was worthy of being the Young Woman of the Year, and I just learned a lot from the experience, and I'm glad that I did it.
Okay. What was it like competing against your friends?
Well, all the girls in the competition were my friends, and we got along throughout the whole competition really well. We all supported each other. We all wished each other good luck, and we all promised each other that whoever won, that we'd go and see the person who won in the competition at the county level. So it wasn't cutthroat at all, and we all got along really well.
When will you be competing next?
The next competition is at Haddon Township High School. It's during Thanksgiving weekend, and I have a couple weeks to prepare for that.
Okay, good luck on your next competition, Trisha.
Thanks.
Last Friday night, October 23rd, the annual Battle of the Bands competition took place here at East. The 6 bands who performed were Grizzle, TF Cheeks, Kings and Queens, Immigration, Standing Tall, and Organ Grinder. The event was put together by the SGA. Sophomore Greg Morozak, who attended the event, said, quote, "It was great. It was beyond what I expected," unquote. Junior Christy Muller said, quote, "There was a lot of energy in the crowd," unquote. And what a crowd it was. Over 500 people came and over $2,000 was raised. Corey, an interesting thing happened to me last week. At the Renaissance Fair, I ran into Miguel de Cervantes, the guy who wrote Don Quixote.
Really?
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit more about the Renaissance Fair?
Well, I didn't meet anyone famous, but I did have a great time. On Monday of last week, the Thespian Society, along with several English classes, attended the Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair. At the fair, students felt as if they were transferred back to 1588, the days of Queen Elizabeth, to a small London town. When students arrived, they were greeted by actors in costume with Old English dialects. The town was fully equipped with stores and restaurants of that period. Shops ranging from a crystal store to glass-blowing shop with glass blown right in front of you. The restaurants featured foods of that era. The cast of Tartuffe performed a scene from last year's fall production, and East Magical Singers also performed. The day was a much more interesting way of learning about that period than just reading a textbook. The Cherry Hill East Library Book Fair opened today and will continue through Friday. Anyone may come to the library and order books, posters, and cassettes. Proceeds will be used to purchase additional library materials.
Congratulations to the following students who have been selected for the 1992-1993 East Senior Hall of Fame: Courtney Ames, Lauren Bell, Kathleen Bickle, Eric Braverman, Tim Brady, Joseph Cho, Winston Chow, Kathy Compertor, Joanne Casial, Anthony D'Alessandro, Randy Fleischman, Rebecca Freed, David Gelt, Jennifer Clear, Debbie Cruz, Melody Lee, Samra Lee, Matt Leschner, Michael Lusbader, Jill Marple, Ryan Nation, Ellen Neese, Marissa Rothman, Lisa Schusterman, Julie Simons, Melissa Spitz, and Nicole Weinberg. Look for their profiles at the main entrance. And now over to Mike Furman with an update on sports this week at East.
Thanks, Tracy. The football team was trounced this week by Pennsauken 35-7, lowering their record to 2-3. Come out and support the team this Friday night as they travel to Eastern for a 7:30 game. The boys soccer team won their only game this week over Highland by a score of 5-0. They have an impressive 9-2-1 record. The field hockey team had a 2-1 week, defeating Overbrook and Gloucester Catholic and losing to Eastern in a hard-fought match. The playoff-bound team has a 6-3-4 record. The girls' soccer team continued having their problems as they opened the week with losses to Lenape and Edgewood, but then rebounded with a 2-0 win against Overbrook. The team has a dismal 4-9-1 record. Rounding up the sports this week, the tennis team finished their season with a 10-2 record, so congratulations for another fine season.
East regrets the loss of custodian Lillian Doran. She passed away last Wednesday from cancer. Lillian was a familiar face to all, cheerful and helpful. She served East well. We express our condolences to her family and friends. We too will miss her. Memorial donations may be made in Lillian Doran's name to Samaritan Hospice, P.O. Box A, Morristown, New Jersey, 08057.
That wraps up the news tonight. Special thanks to Mr. Gordon Hampson, our cameraman and editor, to Mr. Keith Haynes, our advisor, and to Tim Brady, our student camera person this week. Thank you for joining Corey Ringer and Mike Furman and myself, Tracy A. Denton, this evening. Stay tuned for Computer Learning Month special, The Library Technology Revolution, featuring our own Miss Beck, which follows the junior high news. Tonight, we leave you with Ophelia, all dressed up and ready for the Halloween dance. Good night, Ophelia.
Good evening. I'm Genevieve Garrido.
And I'm Debbie Wickus. Welcome to the West Report. When is the Walsh Gym going to be finished construction, and why did it take so long? Those are some of the questions on students' minds at Cherry Hill West. Construction began last June. The Levy Construction Company of Cherry Hill ran into unexpected problems. The workers needed to redo a small section of concrete. It took the summer for the floor to cure. The workers have just completed painting the gym white and are in the process of putting in the new wooden floor. The project should be completed by November 19th.
On Monday, the Spanish Club, along with the French and International Culture Clubs, had a Halloween party at the cafeteria after school. Foods and refreshments made by the club members were served for free. There were games and DJs available for entertainment. Ms. Lopez, the coordinator of the Spanish Club, provided the Halloween decorations. Students who wore costumes on that day received extra credit in their foreign language class.
The October 21st faculty meeting was devoted to discussing the cultural dimensions of the West community. The session topics and presenters were the African American experience by Ms. Leola Lewis, the Korean community experience with Mr. Chuck Kim, and the transformation in Cherry Hill Greek community by Reverend Pradinakis. The three spokespersons focused on the core values of their communities and changes being made in them. This was the second faculty meeting to be devoted to the topic of cultural differences. Teachers say that the program was very informative and enriching. Here's Dave Marika for this week's sports. Dave?
In sports, the Lions football team played Gloucester Catholic at home last Saturday, losing 14-6. Joel Correa had West's only touchdown on a short run. The team, which is now 1-4, look to sack Camden next Saturday at 10:30 at the West Stadium. West varsity soccer team had another strong week, grabbing 2 wins and a tie, bettering their record to 10-3-1. The boys began the week by crushing Deptford 4-0. This win was followed by an impressive 1-1 tie to highly ranked Washington Township. On Saturday, the Lions beat Pennsauken 4-1. Brian Bianco scored his team-high 22nd goal this week. West, which is ranked 11th in the Courier Post as of last Monday, will play Pennsauken again in the Coaches Tournament and then play Bishop Eustace in a regularly scheduled game this week. The girls' soccer team won 1 and dropped 1 last week, drubbing Deptford 5-0 and falling to Washington Township 2-0. Jamie Whitlock scored her first 2 goals of the season in West victory. The girls will finish their season against Camden Catholic this week. The Lady Lions field hockey team's quest for a state championship was extinguished last week as the team lost to 12th ranked Washington Township and 7th ranked Bishop Eustace. The Lions were held scoreless in both contests. The girls will finish their season against Pennsauken, Deptford, and Gloucester High School this week. The girls' tennis team nearly ended its season last week with a loss to Eastern. The team had a successful season qualifying for the state tournament and by having nearly a .500 winning percentage. Monika Berwagen, Shira Gold, Kristen Lysak, and Sarah Goldstein performed well as the singles players this year. The team still has some makeup games this week, and all players should be commended on the fine season. The girls' cross-country team beat Overbrook last Thursday 15-50. Jody Sanders finished first for West, and Cindy Way grabbed a close second. Both the guys and the girls' team will race against Washington Township and arch rival East this week. Cherry Hill West boys gymnastics team placed second in its tri-meet last Friday, beating Lenape and falling to Cherry Hill East. Ryan Spiegel, Mike Gismondi, and Brian Lewis all placed individually for West, which will finish its season against Haddon Township Thursday night. The girls' team will try to outscore Rancocas Valley and Shawnee in their 2 final meets this week. Well, that's all the sports. Now back to the West Report.
As a follow-up to last week's assembly, Do Hugs Not Drugs by Big Al Zolak, our roving reporters interviewed some students and teachers to get the reactions.
The Big Al Assembly was very effective. It got through to the students. It made them think about the consequences of drugs, and it gave them alternative. I mean, it showed you ways that, if they had problems with drugs, you don't get yelled at or anything. The hug, I think that was really good.
I agree totally, but also the fact that Big Al really made you think of things, and he presented things in a really original way and really creative way. Unlike other people who just state the facts, he was really there getting into it and made us really think about things and presented issues that we had never really thought about before.
Like Jen, I thought the best thing about Big Al was the fact that, unlike other speakers, he went down to our level, and he thought the way we thought. Unlike the other speakers, he usually talked down to us. And when we were on the same wavelength, that's how he really got through to us.
I think that Big Al, I think it was really good that he came to the school because he touched a lot of people, and he really made us understand what can happen if you do drugs. And I think he really got through to a lot of people.
He got a lot of people to open up, and it was good because a lot of people don't usually talk about that kind of stuff. And
Big Al was very entertaining, and his presentation was very, very worthwhile for the students. Although I'd heard much of it before, having sat through 30 or 40 assemblies, I thought the students, particularly the ones I teach, got a great deal out of it. They were motivated by him not to do drugs, and most of the students that I teach felt that he was very helpful and would like to see the same type of assemblies on a yearly basis.
Today, during homeroom period, all West students had an opportunity to participate in a statewide and nationwide mock election for the President of the United States and Congressman from the 3rd District. The ballot contained names and parties of the 13 presidential candidates. It also had the names of the 10 local congressional candidates. It offered the same choices that registered voters will face on November 3rd. The results of the mock election will be announced tomorrow during homeroom. The New Jersey Network will be compiling the results of all schools in the state. They will broadcast the results at 6 o'clock on the 29th. The candidates for the 1996 class government have been announced. In the running are Brandon Claremont with Rachel Hornstein, Desiree Vaughn with Linda Helm, Jonathan Rosen with Jessica Franklin, and Laura Quattrone with Brian Argood.
Don't forget to attend this year's children's show, Cinderella. It will be performed at 4 in the afternoon and at 7 in the evening on Friday. On Saturday, the play will be performed at 11 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. Cost of tickets is $3 per person. Thank you for watching the West Report. Stay tuned for the annual Computer Learning Month special, The Library Technology Revolution, which follows the junior school news. Good night.
Good night.
Good evening. I'm Dave Zockman.
And I'm Michelle Harp.
I'm Seth Debowitz.
Welcome to Carusi News. Our top story tonight is the student government. Here's Dave Lazowski with Mr. Lee, the advisor of Student Council.
Thank you, Dave. I'm here with Mr. Lee, advisor to the Student Council. Mr. Lee, how long have you been advising Student Council?
6 years.
After meeting with this year's staff, how do you think this year will go?
It's going to be a very productive year. We have some very good officers and council members.
What type of changes from last year are you planning on making?
Basically, more involvement with more student involvement in things going into school. We already had a dance that is much different than when we started off last year, and we'll leave it basically up to a lot of things that the council decides that they'd like to do to see if they can incorporate into the school and make it just a more pleasant place for everyone.
What special events will the Student Council sponsor?
We have a number of events that we actually, like our ongoing events. We are in the process right now of coming up with something to aid in the Hurricane Andrew. Although that happened back in the summer, we as a school still feel like there are things that we can do, and we'd like to get involved in that. And we are constantly on the lookout for anything that may come up where this student body can be actively involved.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. And now back to Dave.
Thanks, Mr. Lee and Dave. On Friday, October 16th, the Student Council sponsored the Masquerade Dance. Here's Michelle with the story.
On Friday, October 16th, Carusi held its first dance of the year. Since it was so close to Halloween, the Student Council decided on an interesting theme. They called it the Masquerade Ball. If students wore a costume or a mask, they got in for $3. If not, the admission was $4. There were approximately 500 students there. However, not everyone wore a costume. The highlight of the Masquerade Ball was a costume contest. There were 4 different categories: scariest costume, ugliest costume, most original costume, and the all-around best costume. As a widow, Veronica Banks took the win for the scariest costume. Suzanne Malarchek won for the most original costume, just as a giant candy corn. Winning for the ugliest costume were three zombies, Amy Arison, Cara Campagna, and Janet Barker. And last but not least, Star Fitzgerald came to win the best all-around costume category. Everyone seemed to have fun and can't wait for the next dance. If you couldn't make it to this Carusi event, try to make it to the next one. You're guaranteed to have a blast.
Thanks, Michelle. There are many co-curricular activities offered at Carusi. One of these is chorus. Here's Leslie Ryan with the story.
Thank you, Dave. This year, Carusi has over 300 students as members of our award-winning Carusi's Mixed Chorus. There is a special division of this chorus called Show Choir, in which 120 students tried out, and 55 of the most talented were selected. I interviewed the director of both choruses, Mr. Trimble, and asked him what he thought of this year's Mixed Chorus and Show Choir. He said he's looking forward to becoming a part of it because he has heard many good things about it from many different people. He is also excited about the enthusiasm that the students have shown so far. There is already 3 performances scheduled. The first is at Cherry Hill West. The second is also at West. This is called Broadway Night, where Carusi's Mixed Chorus and Show Choir get to sing with the chorus from West. There are 3 performances for Broadway Night. Finally, there is a competitive event at Hershey Park where a lot of different choruses compete, scheduled for sometime in June. For the last 5 years, Carusi has won awards for excellence at this event. Back to you, Dave.
Thanks, Leslie. And here's sports with Seth Demowitz.
Thanks, Dave. It's 7th grade field hockey. Last Monday, Carusi defeated Pennsauken by a score of 2-0. Scoring for Carusi were Natalie Pilla and Erica Swayze. Their next game was against our crosstown rivals Beck on Wednesday. Carusi defeated them by a score of 4-0. Jackie Rispoli scored 3 goals for the hat trick, and Lauren Roselli scored the last one to ensure the win. On Friday, the girls played to a scoreless tie versus Christ the King. There was team's record scores at 6 wins, 1 loss, and 2 ties with 5 shutouts. Last Monday, the 8th grade field hockey team played Pennsauken and defeated them 3-1. Scoring for Carusi were Michelle Harp, Tara Zanzinger, and Stacy Edelman. Their next game was also against Beck on Wednesday, and they defeated them 3-0. Scoring again for Carusi were Michelle Harp and 2 goals by Natalie Scherer. On Friday, Carusi lost to Christ the King by a score of 1-0. Monday, the girls beat Overbrook 2-0. Scoring for Carusi were Michelle Voss and Tara Zanzinger. Last Monday, the Carusi 7th grade boys soccer team defeated Pennsauken by a score of 10-0. James Blount scored 2 goals, Lou Macri scored 5, Dewey Brown scored 1, and Greg DeWolf put in the 10th. The next game was against Beck. They defeated them 3-1. Scoring for Carusi were Lou Macri, Jared Frazier, and Anthony Kahn. The next game was against Pennsauken, and they defeated them 4-0. Steve Primiano, Rich Burmeff, and Jared Sobel scored. Monday, they played Glen Landing and defeated them 2-1. Anthony Kahn scored the first goal, but it was Greg DeWolf's deciding goal that decided the game. On Thursday, October 22nd, Marlton played Carusi, and Carusi won 2-0. Mike Young scored both goals. Friday, Carusi traveled to Pennsauken and defeated them 2-1. Madeline and Kevin Jones scored for Carusi. Monday, Carusi played Glen Landing and defeated them 1-0. Kevin Jones scored the only goal. Carusi's soccer team stands at a record of 24-0-2 over their 2-year career. Girls soccer. Last Tuesday, Carusi played Beck and lost 3-0 to their team. Then Wednesday, they lost to Voorhees 2-0. Monday, they played one of their best games of the year by tying Glen Landing 1-1. That's it for sports. Back to you, Dave.
Thanks, Seth. We would also like to thank the following Carusi News members for their contribution to tonight's performance: Stacy Edelman, Diane Zibikowski, Mark Scepter, Karen Greenwald, and Nick Houlis. We would also like to thank our advisor, Mr. Gerst. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Big time blowout!
Look at what we've got to offer.
I've had the time of my life, and I've never felt this way before. Yes, I swear it's the truth, and I owe it all to you.
What else have we got? Food!
Great snacks and refreshments.
We've also got many games. We've even got Super Nintendo. We also have scary movies. Or just hanging out with friends. Be there, October 30th, from 7:30 to 11 o'clock.
Be there or be square.